LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Darrell Owens here with Lamonte Thomas, and we're here to give you our breakdown of the Atlantic 10 Women's Championship Tournament that's coming up on Friday through Sunday. Lamont, how you feeling, brother?
Oh, man, I'm ready. AJ Palumbo, here we come.
Ooh, that's right. We're heading to Pittsburgh early in the morning, 3 o'clock to be exact. But LegacyMaker Sports Network is glad to be up there bringing you the coverage. We're going to be doing a lot up there, interviews, pictures. It's going to be a busy weekend.
The whole thing.
Hopefully by that Monday we didn't tire y'all out and we have all the greatness going on. So
taking over your feeds.
So make sure that you check us out on that. But tonight we're going to give you our preview of the tournament coming up. We're going to go over a lot of stuff there. But first, let's kind of go over the games from yesterday before we get deep into anything. Now, yesterday's games were a little high, a little low here and there. We had, I think the 12 o'clock game was the double overtime affair. The 3 o'clock game was decent. And then those 7 o'clock games came in.
Lopsided.
And I don't know what happened there. And then we had the 8 o'clock game with Richmond and St. Louis and that one. But let's go over the games. First, let's go over that 12 o'clock, that noon game, that double overtime thriller that said this is how you start off the A10 tournament, where you had George Mason, the number 7 seed, taking on UMass. Everybody they were hyped. They were excited, and unfortunately for George Mason, they lost this one in double overtime, 86-80.
Yes, they did, and I picked it wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I had UMass going down at the end, but they stayed in there, Darrell. They stayed in there, and when we talked during the game.
Yeah, we did.
You texted, you said it's in overtime right now, and I said what? I said George Mason by 5.
Yes,
do you remember that?
Yes, and as soon as you hit me, as soon as you said that and I got the message back, I said,
double
sorry,
overtime.
Buddy, double overtime. They've already got the W.
And when I saw that, I said, oh, man, Mason they were a sleeper that I picked.
Well, here's the thing. UMass went into this game and they battled. It was a great game all the way through, tight game. But then once that second overtime hit, all of a sudden, Faloxy, Liddell went to the line 20 times. I don't think she missed a free throw. She was balling out. And then at that moment, they went on that 12-2 run,
right,
and that was it.
I did not think they would be able to contain Cordona Hillary.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of struggled in the beginning, but she kind of got it going towards the end. But J.C. Bolden was phenomenal. She had like 33 points. She had a double-double. She's been one of the best in the conference all year in the double-doubles. She, our defensive player of the year, Cordona Hillary, our player of the year. And it was hard to see them go down, but a very tough and gutsy performance by UMass.
I think it defined the A10 tournament and what it's going to be.
Yeah, we were very excited about that. Then we head to the 3 o'clock game. And that 3 o'clock game, you saw George Washington, the defending champions, taking on St. Joe's. And that St. Joe's team is crazy because that was the championship game last year. George Washington handled them in that game last year. Now, they lost Cummins. Cummins is not on the team anymore, but they still had Maylin Batista. They had Kelsey Mahoney, but it just wasn't enough. St. Joe's came to play.
Yeah, and that one surprised me, too. I was getting over the shock from George Mason, and then I was like, there's no way George Washington's going to lose.
Were both of your early sleepers out before?
And they took him out. And I said, I don't know. I looked at my notebook, and I said, whoop.
Well, that ends that. That was nice while we had it.
Here we go. And last year, it's 5th versus 6th seed in the finals.
Yeah, it was a very, being there last year was crazy. It was at the Richmond Coliseum, and that first day, the 1 seed won, and then all the lower seeds won after that. You had the 5 seed and Mason win. You had the 6 seed and St. Joe's win, and then you had the 7 seed in St. Louis beating Duquesne, which that'll be another match where we get in the quarterfinals here. And I just was like, man, this is crazy. So, it started off a little rocky, and then was like, okay, these 7 o'clock games
must be March.
Yeah, it must be March. Then the 7 o'clock game roll in, and then it was beat down Central. And I feel bad, there was some, teams in there. You had St. Bonaventure taking on Davidson. Davidson came to play. They were good from beginning to end, and you just couldn't stop them. I mean, they looked phenomenal. Spate was in there doing her thing. Sarah Donovan, she had a great game. Davidson just looked good.
I think that was a statement game for Davidson. It was basically them saying, okay, we're in 5th place, but don't forget about us.
Right, and you can't forget about them. They when they played VCU on Saturday, they They were in the mix. They had to leave. VCU went on that 15-0 run that kind of kept Davidson out of the mix, but they fought the entire game. They didn't give up. They got it within close to like 5 towards the end, but then VCU was able to pull it out. So you see the resolve in that Davidson team. They're going to be somebody to watch out for.
Watch Sarah Donovan.
Yes, Sarah Donovan.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and
I'm
Spate. Sure. Yeah, I'm telling you, Kiana Spate, she's a baller. I'm just saying that. Now, other matchup, Dayton took on LaSalle. It was close in the beginning, but then Dayton is Dayton. And they went out there with all that athletics, all that size, and they just did their thing against LaSalle.
They look good. I mean, they look like they're just in March form. So I don't know, like if we'll talk about our predictions later.
That's true. That's true.
If you run into Dayton,
you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Look out.
I will say this though, we talked when we did the Richmond and LaSalle game. We talked about how LaSalle was. A team that's still trying to learn, and Coach McGillivray, we always are McGillivray. There we go. Coach McGillivray, he went out there, and you kept pointing out during the game, he knows his basketball.
Yeah.
This team is going to be good. It may take a little bit. Let him get his recruits in. LaSalle could be somebody to watch out for in the next few years.
Yeah, they're crazy because even though you look at their schedule and you see that they've taken a lot of losses, right? But they're in a lot of games.
Right.
Like, even when they play the top 3 seeds, you'll notice that they've only lost by 4 or they only lost by 8. And it's like Coach McGillivray keeps his team in the game, and 2, they have size on them.
They do.
They have size compared to the rest of the A-10.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they only had one senior, and that's Reese. And I think they still got Miller coming back. They got Sanders coming back. They got people coming back, and I think he get some of his recruits in. It could be a good thing for them. In the other matchup, man, Duquesne. Woo! You want to start the tournament off right. This is how you start the tournament off. Duquesne scored 65 points in that first half against Rhode Island, and it was never close.
I said
it was never close.
They may score 100.
And they did.
And they scored 100.
And they did. It was like, we're not playing games. We're going to drop 100. We don't want to hear anything else. This is what's going down.
They're ready to play at home.
They are. And see, we'll talk about that later as well. But that Duquesne team is going to be an interesting look here as we go into that into the tournament. Last matchup of the evening was St. Louis versus Richmond. We cover Richmond, so a little bit of a soft spot, but we cover the A-10 in the whole. But we cover Richmond and VCU whole. Richmond held their own for a lot of this game, but once again, the third quarter reared its ugly head.
All year long.
All year long. I don't know what it is about the third quarter for the Spiders. They've got to find a way to jump on people in the third quarter, or at least keep it even in the third quarter. They had a great fourth quarter. Hines Clark making moves. Holt was out there doing her thing. Players were making things happen. But they just couldn't. It was just too little, too late because Jordan France doesn't like to miss threes.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is that for Richmond defensively, they go as they go defensively. Right. When they're able to make stops time and time again, the offense is just like unconscious. So like when they have a hard time stopping the 3-point shot, or they have a hard time stopping a run. That's when offensively they go inept, right? Like we're like, oh, what happened to them on offense? Well, they can't make a stop, so they just lose all their bearings altogether.
Yeah, I mean they've got a lot of good young pieces there. I still think that they're going to continue to grow.
They'll be great.
Hines Clark's going to be a senior. The only person they're losing is Deja Ruffin, who did not play that much in that game last night. And I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's the wrist that's still bothering her, but nevertheless, St. Louis looks good. Arbison looks good. Brooke Flowers look good. They had I want to say it's Smith. Could be saying that wrong, but I'll double check on that. But those young ladies in St. Louis are going to be something to watch out for also in this tournament.
Yeah, they're good from top to bottom.
All right, now we're going to go over our LegacyMaker, all conference teams and players and coaches. Now, took a lot of time going into this. We've been able to cover this league for the last 2 years, and we took pride in doing it last year. Excuse me. Want to give love real quick to Cody Stewart of Cody Stewart Graphics. He did the graphics for us last year. He really stepped his game up this year with this one. We really loved it, man. We really appreciate you. So I wanted to make
Cody.
Yes, had to give Cody some love on that. He does a phenomenal job for us doing some of our graphics. So let's go ahead and get into this all-conference team. The first team all-conference, LegacyMaker Sports Network. We're still waiting for the official one from the A-10. But here's our first team all-conference. First, guard, Nicole Cardano Hillary, George Mason. She's first in points and first in assists. She's amazing. We have forward Sarah Donovan for Davidson, first in rebounds. She's a double-double machine. She leads the conference in that. We've got Bree Kavanaugh from Fordham, second in scoring. And then we got Kasia Arbison, which I destroyed her name a lot of times, and I'm so sorry, Miss Arbison. And we got her in there at number 4. And then, of course, Jayla Skife, from Dayton, fourth in points, and then she's 7th in rebounding. So that was our first team all-conference. What were your thoughts on that first team all-conference?
Well, Sarah Donovan, first of all, Davison. We're going to talk about her a lot in this tournament. That game versus Dayton, I think they're going to depend on her a lot. She's young. She's a sophomore, but she's got the size, 6 foot, and she just brings the energy for Davidson, right? They go as she goes. She's 13 points a game, 9 rebounds. She nearly averages a double-double. So, I mean, that's huge.
It is. And Donovan, she struggled a little, like I said. I'm only going off what we've seen. We saw VCU. She struggled a little bit in the game, but then she got going a little bit towards the end. She is somebody to watch out for. She is our most improved player, so got to give love to her. She went from 7 points last year to 13 this year, and she's leading the league in double-doubles. So she went from being off the bench to making things work. So she's our most improved player, so much love to Sarah Donovan. Then Bree Kavanaugh from Fordham, second in the conference in scoring. She was all-freshman team last year, and she's still making a push for that Fordham team. Harbison, and what can we say about Harbison that hasn't been already said about this phenomenal freshman?
I mean, she's sweeping the scene. Like, she flies off the screen when you're watching her play. It's weird because, like you said, she's a freshman. But you look at her amongst all these other A-10 players, and she looks like a veteran. So it's scary. Just imagine where she'll be her junior and senior years.
I'm excited to see. I mean, we got 3 more years of this, so I'm excited to see what Arbison is going to bring to the forefront here in the A10. And of course, Skife, who is she's got the height, she can shoot, she can rebound. She's just an all-around player. I believe me and Russ compared her to Chauncey Billups. Yeah, that's what we compared her to, and she just has that vibe.
She does it all, and I think the X factor for her is the fact that I don't think she's reached her ceiling yet.
No,
to be honest,
she's a junior.
Right, she got the most improved player last year, the A10 award, and I feel like she can still improve. It's scary. It's like, when is she going to reach her ceiling?
Well, she's got a whole nother year to make that thing
That's
happen.
What I'm saying.
And she's got a chance in this tournament to really make some noise. And I know they're probably still stinging from that loss that they had last year against George Washington. They beat Richmond. They just couldn't beat George Washington. Of course, they eventually went on to win their 7th Atlantic 10 championship. Now let's head over to the second team. Now the second team, this one's a little bit interesting. I think, you got a player like Jade Hines Clark. She was phenomenal all year. She had 5th in rebounds, 9th in steals. She was like top 3 in offensive rebounds. She's just always in the mix. So, we saw her all year long, and she was top 3 in double-doubles. We knew what we were getting from her. Alyssa Monahan from St. Joe's, 6 in points, 5th in assists. She's a very important part, especially with them going up against VCU this time around. Her guard play is going to be critical when she takes on Naira Williams.
She's a smart player, and like you said, points and assists. So it's crazy how a person like that can make a difference in the game because they can do it from different aspects of the game. So look out for her.
Yeah, she's going to be. It's going to be. She could be a serious problem. If VCU's got to find a way to shut her down early in that game, but we'll get into that in just a little while.
Sure.
But yeah, and then Tara Reid for VCU. Now I'll be honest with you, contemplated putting her on the first team, and the only reason why I think we, kind of shifted away from putting her on the first team is she did miss a few games. But that VCU team is so good as a team that, when she missed those games, they still won without her. And then the Dayton game, they barely won. They fought all the way through. But in that last 3 minutes, they shined. That was when Taya Robinson stepped in. And then, of course, also against St. Louis. They beat St. Louis by 10 at home without Reid. And then when she was in the game, they lost. But, see, that's what it is. This team, they're such a good team, but VCU's got to have some representation, in my opinion. They've been too good this year not to.
Yeah, and I think you put it right on point. Coach Boyle has them playing as a unit. So it's not one person with them. That's why they're so dangerous, and that's why they're the number 1 seed, because you can pick who you want to take away, but you can't guard all of them. It's like they're everywhere.
And it's just like the men's team. If you watch, Coach Rhodes.
Women's havoc.
Yeah, and women's havoc. Coach Rhodes, they got the press. Same thing. They both rock the press. They both go 10, 11 deep. And they both do it. And now they both have won A-10 championships this year because, when I remember last year, and just to slip with the men a little bit, I remember last year when Coach Rhodes first got things going, oh man, what are you doing? Right. Now it's magic. And then Coach O'Boy, they struggled last year. Well, guess what? Now, magic.
Both of those teams are
stew magic.
Defensively stew magic. It's the stew.
It's the stew.
It is. Cooking. No, but both of those teams are defensively scary. And I think that's what it is with VCU. It's they're everywhere. Like it's the next man up. You can put any lineup of the 5 girls out there, and they can play defensive sound ball.
Yeah, you bring in the international connection. You got Maleska. It just goes on and on, Petrova, and it can get dangerous just with that going on. Back to the J.C. Bolton. J.C. Bolton, we just talked about 33 points. She's second in rebounds. First in first in defensive rebounds, but second in overall rebounds. Then she's 10th in steals, and then on top of that, 8th in blocks.
Yeah.
Reason why we made her our defensive player of the year. She does it all. And then Jordan France, which it was really hard for me not to to put Jordan France in that first team because of what she's done as a senior, but I still think in the second team she's got a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis has to have some representation at some point. We talk about them, and even though what are they coming in as a 6 seed?
They came in as 6 seed.
Again, you never know. You never know what they're capable of. And like when we talk sleepers, their name comes up every time.
Yes, it does.
So,
it's kind of hard not to. Now let's swing to third team. Third team, we got guard Katie Turner from Davidson. She's first in assists to turnover ratio, 12th in points, and second in assists. Laura Canatelli from Dayton. She's first in free throws, 8th in points. The senior guard, you just got to watch out for her. She's dangerous all over the court. Haley Lydell from UMass, we talked about her earlier and how dangerous she is from the free throw line. Well, she's second in the conference in that number right there in free throw percentage, 13th in points. Brooke Flowers from St. Louis, second in blocks.
Went
off yesterday. She had 3 against Hines Clark right at the beginning of that game, and poor Hines Clark couldn't get things going initially. It took her a little bit before she got into it. She had 4. She's 4th in rebounds, and then Mary Golden. We talked about her a little bit earlier, and Fordham is just without her, in my opinion, they're maybe not as good as a team as they are. I mean, Kavanaugh's great, but Golden is amazing.
Yeah. She leads the team in steals per game at 1.2 and assists per game. So, like you said, the scoring comes from Kavanaugh a lot, but Golding puts it in. And even, I think the rebounds, averaging 8.3 rebounds.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of rebounds.
Out of those rebounds, Darrell, 42% of them are offensively. So she gives the team more chances to score.
Now, that's the second year that Fordham has had a player that – it was in the top 5 or top, Jameer Davis last year, and she was phenomenal. She was like top 3 in the nation, and now you got another one in Golden. So she does another fantastic job for that Fordham team. Now we go to our all-freshman team. Of course, Brooke Flowers, St. Louis in there, Kasia Harbison in there, Destiny Falaxi. I love Falaxi. She's amazing. She's 22 in points this year. She's 9th in assists, but she's a freshman. And, she's from Queens. She's not playing games out there in these streets. As she goes out there, she plays hard. I really like her.
And how about this lineup? That's why you can't really predict what's going to happen in the A-10.
Exactly. I mean, you really can't. You really can't predict it. I mean, she's just – we saw what UMass did against George Mason, but UMass has actually been playing some pretty decent ball lately. So you never know. If Jessica George gets going,
you better ignore that 10 by their name.
Exactly. And then Asian A. Johnson from St. Bonaventure and Cassidy Good from Davidson. That's our all-freshman team. All defensive team. We went Nicole Cardano Hillary. I mean, you got your first in steals. It's hard to go away on that one. She's first in steals, and she's second in average, but she's in the mix. She's always a player to watch out for. Brooke Flowers, we talked about the blocks earlier. Jade Hines-Clark, of course, on the defensive side has done some phenomenal things with steals. For a forward to have that many steals and be in the top 5, top 6 most of the year, you got to watch out for that. J.C. Bolden, our defensive player of the year, of course, and Libby Bazlak from Duquesne, who's second in total steals, but our first Duquesne player to make the list, and only Duquesne player to make the list. No disrespect, but she's been phenomenal this year.
Yeah. And
now let's swing over to our player and coach of the year. Players and coach of the year is a whole. We kind of already spilled the beans, but we got to give love what love is due. Cardania Hillary, our player of the year. J.C. Bolden, defensive player of the year. And, when you're in the top 10 in 3 categories, it's kind of hard to know when you're in the top 10 in blocks and rebounds and steals. It's kind of hard to say no to that. And then freshman of the year, I think they're probably only going to be really one freshman of the year, and that's probably Harbison. But I felt like Flowers has done such a good job. I think she's won the Rookie of the Week a few times. Harbison's won it the rest of the time. So I felt like they both deserved a little love on there. When we did Coes last year, had to do Coes this year. Just love what they did there.
Harbison, again, we have to look at her records to make sure she's a freshman.
Yeah, we
you can't tell by her play.
She's got ice in her veins, and you just can't tell with Harbison, but she's been phenomenal. Then our 6th woman of the year, Justine Lyon, the senior, she's 11th in scoring. She comes off the bench every game. She started one game this year. But she was absolutely been phenomenal for Davidson coming off the bench. And she plays pretty decent minutes, like anywhere between 25 to 30. And, she goes out there, she can shoot the 3, and you can see the leadership. She made a play in the last game where poor Danielle Hammond, who's first in the A-10 in field goal percentage.
VCU.
Yeah, for VCU. She got the ball, and not velocity, but got velocity on the brain, but Lyon made such a great play to prevent the fast break. She just kind of went over there and snagged the ball just right out of her hands. Just a phenomenal play. And Hammond didn't like any of it. You could just see it in her face. She was just like, man, I cannot believe you did that. But it was phenomenal.
She's a momentum shifter.
Yeah.
Like she comes off the bench, and I feel like her job is to disrupt any momentum the other team has.
Right.
Instant energy.
Yeah, and she does that phenomenally. So much love to her and 6th woman of the year. We talked about Sarah Donovan being our most improved, went from 7 points to 13 points, leading the conference in double-doubles. That's a no-brainer. And then, of course, Beth O'Boyle, ladies and gentlemen, the coach of the year. I say it all the time. She started from the bottom. Now she's here. So they went 7-22 last year, Lamont, and then this year they go 21-8 and come in first place. Get a share of first place in the A-10. I mean, what else can we say about Beth O'Boyle that hasn't already been said?
Covering VCU, you can tell her players just respect her so much. And whenever we interview them at the end of the game, they always talk about what Coach Boyle says. They always talk about what she instills in them. So her persona reflects on the entire team.
Yes.
So there it is. I mean, she's coach of the year, I think, unanimously.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably throw some other names in the ring, but it's hard to say no when you go from. I think last year they were maybe like a 10, 12, or 11 seed going into the tournament, and this year they're first. And so that's a good deal. Fordham was in the same spot. They were third last year. They moved up to 2 this year. So for me, the improvement is all there. Beth O'Boyle, congratulations from LegacyMaker Sports. And like I said, we got to give a little love because we do cover them, mainly. So much love to Coach O'Boyle on that one. Pittsburgh is a day and a half away, or a day and away, wherever. We're excited because we first of all, let's thank the A-10 for the opportunity. We're excited to be up there to be able to bring y'all the coverage of this wonderful tournament from these wonderful young ladies. I mean, just great basketball, and we get a chance to watch it all, baby. All 7 games.
Front and center.
We're going to be right there in the mix. But now we're going to go ahead and give you our previews. First, we're going to break down the quarterfinal matches, and then we'll give you our full-out predictions. But we're going to at least break down each game here first, and then we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and start with the one that myself and Lamont will be broadcasting.
9 o'clock.
As long as he's awake. If he's not awake, we might have to do a switcheroo. But as of right now, me and Lamont will be broadcasting that one. And Lamont, VCU versus St. Joe's. We talked a little bit about it earlier, how important, obviously how important the game is, but how it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and that's the task at hand for VCU.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. And I'll tell you what, Darrell, I will be awake because I feel like thinking about this game is Ambien by itself. I will be awake. So somehow, some way, I will be awake. But no, VCU, I feel like defensively, they're going to be too strong. I have VCU in the game. But St. Joseph's,
you just never know, man. Like, and, I think Monahan's a senior, and I'm pretty sure she's a senior, and she will be one of those players that she's gonna you're probably gonna see the best game from her of her career. She's gonna probably give the best effort possible. They remember how I felt last year being in that championship game and coming up short. So there's a few young ladies that are on that team from last year that know that feeling. It's gonna be a tough one, but like you said, I gotta agree with you, Lamont. VCU's all around defense. Just even if you get a lead on them, I'm willing, and I don't place bets, but if I was willing to place a bet, I will bet you that St. Joe's will have the lead at the end of the first quarter. But they won't. But every game I think we've done,
that Coach Boyle mentality will walk you down.
It'll get there now. So I will even put a bet that would be the case. But I will say this: VCU, in my opinion, it's going to be hard to choose against VCU in this situation. I think Coach Boyle got the ladies ready to roll. Got to go with that on that one. So we both go VCU. You feel good about that?
Number 1 seed advances first round.
First round, slide on. Next one. This one, 2:00 game. Me and Russ will be broadcasting this one. This one's going to be, in my opinion, this could be the game of the day.
We just spoke about it.
We just spoke about how this could be the game of the day before we came on. This could be the game of the day. That's number 4 Dayton versus number 5 Davidson. Now, the last time they played, Dayton ended up winning the game 83-69, but it was all a comeback. It was a close game all the way up. Fourth quarter hits. Oh, wait a minute. They were down by 12 to Davidson, and then they went on, I think it was like a 12-0 run. They tied the game up. Skype made a shot at the end of the game. Boom, they tied up.
They did.
And then Dayton dominated in overtime.
Yeah, that one we talked about right before we came on, and we said that's going to be the game to watch because that game is going to set the tone for even the next round. So I am going to take Dayton.
Okay.
I got the Lee Corso pen in hand.
He got the Lee Corso.
So I'm calling it now.
Is there a flyer?
I will put the wings on and fly right out of here. Dayton. I have Dayton, and I say that because this one was so close. I picked Dayton because of Shauna Green, the coach.
Right.
She got Coach of the Year last year.
Mm-hmm.
Dayton they were in there. They were in the mix last year. They were regular season champions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, regular season champions.
And then they just couldn't pull through in the tournament. I think this year they get past Davidson. And we'll talk about that next round.
How you feel about Dayton? This Dayton team is explosive. And I got to go with Dayton, man. I got to go with Dayton. There's no disrespect to Davidson. Davidson's got a good team. You got Donovan and Lyon and of course, Turner. They're a really good team. If those three get going, it'll be hard to stop Davidson. But in this case, I got to go with Dayton.
It's going to be an interesting matchup.
Definitely going to be interesting. Now, we're going to swing to that 4:30 matchup. This is Fordham taking on UMass. Now, Fordham comes in here. They have the better overall record coming into the tournament at 22-8. But the only reason why they're 2 seed is because VCU beat them during the season, and they both have 13-3 records in the Atlantic 10. But they take on a UMass team, and we talked about Philoxy, and we talked about Liddell. What is UMass going to have to do to actually have a chance to win this game?
They're going to have to bring that UMass magic that they had in that OT thriller. Time and time again, I looked at the game and I said, Mason should be too much, and UMass surprised me every time. They're going to have to fight with Fordham from start to finish. Defensively, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they'll have to get in them. They'll have to get them to turn it over, and they might even have to get on the break. But I got Fordham in the game. I think Fordham's too solid.
I'm going to have to do the same. And I think everybody loves a good Cinderella story. This could be a good Cinderella story if UMass can make this happen.
It would be crazy.
It would be phenomenal for the UMass community. Coach Verde up there has done a good job with the ladies. They, kind of a middle of the road season, but they played pretty solid. They've fought hard in a lot of these games. So hopefully they'll get the chance to make it. But Fordham, I think too much. Mary Golden's just going to be too much.
Yeah.
Sheehan's a whole nother problem that we haven't even really talked about yet. Mary Sheehan. So her Kavanaugh, I think, is just too much. Fordham gets the W.
Coach Gately too. She has these girls like a machine. So they work really well as a unit. I'm taking Fordham as well.
Yeah, guys. Sorry, UMass, but got to go for them. Last matchup of the day, the 7 o'clock matchup. Now, me and Lamont will be doing that Fordham and the UMass game. Me and Russ will be doing this next one. This is Duquesne versus St. Louis. This is a rematch of last year's first-round matchup, which was very surprising. I remember myself and Rob Johnson doing the game at the Coliseum, and I went in there easily feeling like Duquesne was going to win that matchup. But I forgot about Jackie Kemp and how important she was to that St. Louis team and how she's been all conference year after year. So this year they don't have that, but they still got France. They still got Flowers. They still got Arvidsson. It gets really difficult for Duquesne. This is probably the worst draw Duquesne could have got, especially heading into this.
I think so. And it may be a mental battle. Darrell, like they're gonna have to get over what happened last year, and you have to think that somewhere in their mind they may be like, what if this happens to us again?
We can't have that happen.
So this, like you said, I believe it could be the worst draw that they've got. I'm taking Duquesne in a close one because and I'll tell you what, I will not be surprised of the 4 picks in the first round. Mm-hmm. I thought this is the one. If I had to bet on which one I would get wrong, I would say this could be it. Because St. Louis is scrappy. They can play with any team in the A-10. And you mentioned those players before. If they get hot, Harbison,
mm-hmm.
dangerous. But I'm going to go with Duquesne, and I'll say 5 points or less.
I agree with you 100% on that. I got to go with Duquesne, and it's a tough one because I'm a huge St. Louis fan. I love what I see from, and then my girl, she is like watching her play makes me smile, and that's Carrie McMahon, and McMahon is just phenomenal on the floor. She does it all, hustle play. She's your Draymond Greens, your Augustus, from the Lynx. She's that type of player. She's just all over the floor. She does it all.
All purpose.
So if they move on, I won't be upset. It would be nice to see her play another game, but I got Duquesne winning this one.
Respect to the Billikens.
Yes, respect to the Billikens.
We're taking Duquesne.
All right, now with all that being said, we're gonna go and those are our first round, but we're gonna finish up our predictions here. We're gonna do it separate here. Russ. So just know that Russ, Telefur, who's going to be also broadcasting with us, me and him, after we're doing the picks, me and Russ have the exact same picks. So my picks are Russ picks. So don't feel like, well, wait a minute, how you going to choose for this man? But yeah, so he sent out his picks over earlier, could make it. But yes, we're going to do it that way. So
respects to the stat man.
Yes, well, all love to the stat man. So right now we pretty much agreed throughout the first round. So let's see. VCU versus Dayton, second round. This is a prediction, y'all. Who do you have, Lamont?
And let me first start by saying I apologize to my alma mater.
Oh,
because
man.
I'm a VCU Ram all day, every day.
He apologized earlier.
But I chose Dayton.
Ooh.
I did. I said Dayton would get them. I think last year, again, they came in regular season champs. They may have taken everyone a little bit too lightly, but I think Dayton has revenge set in. I say Dayton is going to get out on VCU, and I think they're going to make a run in the second half that'll be too much from VCU to come back from.
This is the game that I toyed with more than anything. I think this one bothered me more than any game other than who I picked in the championship game. Those two games are just baffling to me. I went with VCU.
Okay.
I did go with VCU. I just felt like, they're a young team, but they're also a young team on a mission.
Right.
And they did beat this Dayton team without Tara Reid.
They did.
They're going to have Tara Reid. And they had to fight to get back in the game.
They did.
Without their best player.
It was a close one.
Yes. And they were
64-62?
64-62. And they were able to still come back and get the W. I'm going to say VCU gets this one, and they make their way to the finals. All right, next one. We both agree so far. So Fordham, except for that one, that's the only disagreement. We got Fordham taking on Duquesne.
Right.
Duquesne's at home, even though they're the 3 seed.
Yep.
Who you got in this one?
I chose Duquesne. And I thought that, again, this is going to be a very interesting coaching battle to me. I feel like I don't think neither team really likes playing from behind.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case that they get behind, I think Fordham may have some trouble with Duquesne. Because we talked about how scrappy they are, right? The guards may be 5'6", but they're scrappy. They'll get in there, they'll force you to turn it over, and I think Duquesne with the momentum and being at home might get them through this game. So I have Duquesne.
Yeah, Duquesne's on a little bit of a, they've been doing pretty good heading into this game. I think they're on like a 4-game winning streak, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, and I apologize if I am. But they're on a winning streak heading in this game. I like Fordham. I like everything Fordham does. But I also have Duquesne in this matchup. I really do. Look, the home court is going to mean something here.
Yeah, for sure.
The A10, smartly, I think, picked these spots for the next few weeks. They knew that Duquesne was going to be solid. You got Dayton next year. They're going to be just as good as they are with Skype Minutes, and then they got VCU. 3 teams that, we all expect they're going to be up and coming. I just think Duquesne's going to make a little bit of a run here, and I think they get past Fordham.
We're putting on the wings again.
Yep, we're going to fly. Or maybe you're going to fly, but I got the Dukes. I got the Dukes rolling into that one. All right, so I got VCU versus Duquesne in the finals. You got Dayton versus Duquesne in the finals. So what do you got going on there?
What I have going on there, Darrell, is I think it's going to come down to the last 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think Duquesne is going to run out of gas. And I've got Dayton winning the whole thing.
Got Dayton winning the whole thing.
Number 4 Dayton coming back to claim with
was rightfully theirs.
To get theirs last year.
Well, I don't hate the pick. Like I probably would have went the same direction if it was me in the situation, but
got Duquesne bringing it home.
I wanna pick Duquesne.
Oh,
I got VCU winning it all.
You got VCU?
I got VCU winning it all. I know they lost to Duquesne the last time they met in overtime. Very tough game. I just think VCU's cut from a different cloth. What they do defensively, and Coach O'Boyle, like you said, women's havoc, man. It's like they've got a good thing going there. So I had to go with the Rams.
They deserve it. To be honest, they deserve it. I was saying that St. Joseph's put on their calendar before the tournament started, before they played the first game,
mm-hmm.
they had VCU on the schedule, as if no matter what, they're playing VCU.
They're playing VCU. They were confident.
If I'm VCU, I'm like, oh yeah.
So you just know you're going to play
Yeah,
us.
so all out. And then, like you said, none of the experts picked VCU to win, and they're the number 1 seed.
Yep.
You got to prove them wrong.
I think that's amazing. And those experts, I'm not going to toss a name out there, but they're pretty respectable. And so I was just like, very interesting. But I went VCU. Russ went VCU. And then my man Lamonte here went with Dayton, which is I don't think is a bad one. But you know what, Lee Corso will be proud, and we just gotta let him fly.
Let him fly.
All right, so we're gonna go to our last part here. Want to thank everybody who's tuned in, who watched. We really appreciate that. But we're gonna do our last segment here. This is probably gonna be the most fun. We got our 2 sleepers who could shock the whole tournament, and of course we're gonna give you our top 5 players to watch out for in the tournament. All right, let's do sleepers first because I love sleepers. Let's do sleepers first. Who are the 2 teams that people have to watch out for in this tournament?
Bust this open. Well, as now that we know, I picked the Dayton Flyers.
Right.
They're a 4th seed. So can I count that as one? Can I
yes,
count Dayton?
Yes.
All right. Since they're not top 3. I've got Dayton in my other sleeper. I'm going with St. Louis.
Great minds think alike because that's exactly what I have on mine. And let me tell you why I did this, because I felt like I just felt like St. Louis has a lot of firepower. Dayton's got a lot of firepower. They got people off the bench for days. So if it's going to be a team that I feel like that's overall just going to really mess with people, it's going to be Dayton. But St. Louis is that team that's just scrappy. And I just love Flowers. I love Arbison. I love McMahon. And I love France. I mean, I just love what they do. Coach Stone has done a phenomenal job with them ladies.
Absolutely.
And so, one of those 2. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like St. Louis. I didn't say much about them earlier, but I do believe they have the factors to shock people. And I think if you look at the roots of these players and where they get them from, right? Like Harbison's a freshman, but she's played in the Kentucky EYBL. That's the Elite Youth Basketball League. And that circuit of basketball is tough. If you look at the Kentucky EYBL, they produce stars, and I think that's one of those things you have to think about. Think about who can get them over the hump. They're used to that level of play.
Well, she's been dominant. I mean, and for a freshman to come in and be top 5 in scoring, nothing with number 1, number 2 in assists, she's done a phenomenal job. And I mean, and she's in the mix and everything. So that's why I say it's hard to choose against them. And her and Flowers are both freshmen. They're going to be doing this unless things change for whatever reason. They're going to be doing this the next 3 years.
Beware.
But St. Louis, man, they're going to be a team to really watch out for. All right, now before we roll out of here, who are the top 5 players in your mind in this tournament that you have to watch out for?
All right, number 5, I have Jayla Scaife, Dayton.
Yes.
Most improved player in 2018, and she's only getting better. 15 points, 7 rebounds a game. Junior, she's dangerous. Number 4, I've got Keisha Harbison. We've been talking about St. Louis X Factors, freshman, but you won't know it from her play. Can play great on-ball defense, score at will. I have her. Number 3, I got Taya Robinson. VCU.
I like that pick.
With Tara Reid out of the lineup, she has the experience of taking the reins and running the Rams team.
Both sophomores.
Yep. I took Taya Robinson. I said, look out because she plays with passion. Number 2, I've got Chastity Omagresso.
Yeah.
Yeah, from
That's my favorite name to say.
Yes, right. The senior. She can light it up. Last year, I believe she was near the top of the A10. She's got 1,000 career points. She is going. And then number 1, the number 1 player that can bust this thing open, I have to go with Kavanaugh. Bree Kavanaugh.
Really?
Yeah,
Kavanaugh.
I do.
I'm not mad at it because we've seen what Kavanaugh can do and how it's split. She's second in A10 in scoring. We know what she can bring to the table. So I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I really don't hate that.
She's a potential double-double no matter who she's playing. She makes it hard for the guards on the other team. Strong guard play can take you really, really far because it's one thing to affect the game with points and assists. It's another to be able to rebound as a guard. She almost averages 7 rebounds herself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so look
at
look
the
out.
guard position. All right, so this is we got a few in there that I feel like we were kind of close here. So number 5 for me, I went Jordan France.
Oh, you can't go wrong.
You
with
know,
that.
France is so lethal from the 3-point line. She's got the most 3-pointers in the conference. She's number 1 there. She's number 5 in the conference scoring. And she just seems to show up when she needs to show up. Whenever they need a big shot, most of the time, they're going to go to France. Like I said, the only game I got to see this year, I kind of didn't get to see her best game. She struggled, but every game I watched her on television, she's been phenomenal when I watched her on ESPN Plus or whatever on station was watching at the time. So I got to give her love there. So she's my number 5. Number 4, I did, and I told you before we did this, I have 2 duels. So it's kind of like a duo, and I kind of cheated a little bit. I'm sorry. So we'll make them. It's 5, but it's really 7. And I went with UMass's Destiny Philoxy and Haley Lydell.
That's interesting
because if UMass wants to make a run in this tournament, it's going to be those 2 young ladies that handle everything.
I don't fight that at all.
Yeah, I mean, Lydell, she's scrappy. Like we talked about, she had 20 free throws in that game against George Mason, and she just dominated. And she knows how to get to the line. She can hit the 3. She's amazing. And Philoxy, she's from Queens, and she's tough. I watched her play twice, and in both of those games that I watched her play, she was just all over the floor. She's driving in the basket. She's taking the contact, and she's just got a fire in her.
What does hip hop say? Queens get the money.
Hey, dollar bill. Yeah. So I got them at 4. At 3, I got Mary Golden from Fordham. I mean, because. And you have Kavanaugh on yours, but I had to go Golden because she's the double-double threat. And if she goes, I feel like if she's having a great tournament, that Fordham team is really going to make some noise.
Yeah, we talked about
they
that.
And they may watch this and say we disrespected them and we had them going out in the semis. So I'm pretty sure we gave them a little motivation today.
But all conference love, though.
Yeah, all conference love, though. We did love y'all up on that one, so I got to go with her 3. All right, so here's my second duo. And number 2, I got Chastity Omograsso and I got my girl Juliana Vonjevic.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot to say, but let me tell you a quick backstory about that. I practice and I practice and I practice. Doing play-by-play can be difficult at times, but you love it. The most difficult thing about it, saying people's names.
Those names.
So I'm over here struggling with the names. That was the name that I was struggling with the most with those two. But I got to watch him play last year. Haven't seen him play yet this year, like live. And watching both of them play last year from the three-point line, they're dangerous. I was at the game when Omograsso scored her 1,000 point. It was on a free throw, so it was pretty cool to see. She's amazing, and Vonjevic, man, she's got a little bit of a deep range. Loss has been having a great year. Bazelak has been having a great year. But if those two young ladies come to the forefront, seniors, this is their last chance. They're at home. They want to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
I got to go with them as my number 2.
I got you.
But number 1, Tara Reid. Tara Reid, this is her coming out party. I feel like, obviously, they're good without her, but they're even better when she's on.
It's another level.
They're even better when she's on. If she goes in here in this tournament and she does what I know she could do, like at the end of the Davidson game, she was like at 10 for 10 at one point from the free throw line. She wasn't scoring on the floor, but she was getting to the line and she was still making the baskets that count. She's just she can shoot the three. She's very fun loving. We've had an opportunity to speak to her, and you can just see a player who loves the game. And so for me, I'm going Tara Reid as my number 1 X factor. But I mean, there's so many. It was hard to choose. It was really hard to choose.
It always is.
It was really hard to choose, but yeah, that's what I got for my top 5.
That sounds good.
All right, y'all. That's it. That's the preview, man. We are getting set. We are ready to come to Pittsburgh. We're gonna take this road trip. We're gonna head up there. We're gonna bring you all the action. So many great games. We don't know what's gonna happen. That's the funnest part. You just don't know.
It's March Madness.
It's
That's
March
what they call
Madness.
it. That 412 will coming soon.
That's right, y'all. Thank y'all, everybody. I'm Darrell Owens, Lamonte Thomas, LegacyMaker Sports Network. Until next time. Well, you know what? We'll see you in Pittsburgh.